So, hi everyone. So, welcome to the online video lecture for the subject machines 2. And the topic I would like to discuss today is the maximum torque condition in a induction motor. So, this is the continuation of the previous session. So, that is the torque equation. So, before knowing for this condition for maximum torque, we must know what about the torque equation and how it is obtained in the induction motor. So, this is the equation there which we have obtained. Let us consider the same torque equation and start from here. So T, the torque T is denoted as which is equal to S into E2 square into R2 by root of R2 square plus S into X2 whole square into 3 by 2 pi ns. Okay. So here this is obtained from the basic equation. T is proportional to phi into Ia into cos phi. Okay. So earlier we have seen that, and if we include the that is by substituting phi is equal to E1 and later on which will be equal to E2, then finally we get this torque equation. So T equal to, so that is in terms of a slip here S into E2 square into, so this is the value for uh, I mean I2 and cos phi 2. Okay, so let K1 equal to 3 by 2 pi ns. So this is the constant, and here ns represents the synchronous speed. Okay, so we need to know the condition for maximum uh, starting torque. Okay, so what does it mean? Because due to the slip, it varies from 0 to 1, so the torque is also getting varied. Okay, because the mechanical loads are applied to the motor, so what happens, the speed may get varied. Okay, so and the rotation of the rotor rotation also varies. Then what about the torque condition there? So for we must know the torque, because if the loads are applied there, so there may be different types of load, right? Heavy loads, medium loads, likewise. So okay, so right, so different loads will be there. So based on the loads, the torque also gets varied. So for that, we must know when the maximum torque is developed and what are the respective parameters at that conditions. Okay, let us see. At standstill or starting torque, that is, standstill means this rotor is kept to be constant there, so it never rotates. At that instant, the induced EMF will be very high. Okay, and the amount of current also will be high, but the rotor never rotates there. So at that condition, since the flux is proportional to the induced EMF, so obviously the maximum torque will be there. Okay, so that is the case at standstill or starting torque. Okay, so that is the case where the maximum torque is obtained. So let us denote it as TST. In some textbooks, you can find it as tau st. Okay, uh, so starting torque equal to K1 into E2 into I2 into cos phi 2. Okay, so here, so this is the equation. Basically, it comes from T is proportional to uh, phi I2 into cos phi 2. So we have seen how it has been converted to K1 E2 I2 into cos phi 2. Okay, so here we need to substitute all the parameters there. What is the value of I2 and what is the value of cos phi 2? So that is a power factor. Okay, so this equation again, by substituting the respective parameters, we get starting torque TST equal to K1 into E2 into here we need to substitute the value of I2 there. Actually I2 is E2 by Z2. Okay, magnitude of Z2. So we get E2 by root of R2 square plus X2 whole square. Okay, next, power factor cos phi 2. So this is the value for this. So R2 by root of R2 square plus X2 whole square. Okay, so these two equations, we can see here the common thing, root of R2 square plus X2 whole square. So then this can be reduced to TST, that is starting torque equal to K1 into E2 square. So here we can see the two parameters, E1 in E2 into E2, right? So it becomes E2 square, and the numerator again R2 is there, and look at the denominator, root of R2 square plus X2 square whole square. So root and square get cancelled. So this is the starting torque of this uh, induction motor. Okay. Next, let us consider it as equation 1. Okay. Next, if the supply voltage V is constant, so supply voltage in the sense for the stator we are giving the three-phase supply, right? So that should be kept constant. Then the flux and hence E2 both are constant. If suppose definitely there should be a supply input should be constant. Of course, the frequency also. If V is constant, the flux will also be constant because the flux follows the input waveform. Okay, so the same voltage and the same frequency, it should be constant. So if it is constant, obviously the induced EMF E1 will be constant and which is proportional to E2. So that is the relation there. If the flux is constant, obviously the induced EMF also becomes constant. Okay, so look at this here. Sorry, right. So from look at the equation 1 there. So it is here we are substituting this phi there. Okay, so phi and actually here we get k into phi, and phi we need to substitute with E1 and later on it will be E2. So all these relations we have seen in the torque equation. So I am not going in detail to this equation 1. Okay, so here we get TST, that is a torque at starting equal to K2 into R2 by R2 square plus X2 square. Okay, which is equal to K into R2 by Z2 square. Okay, so that's sorry K2. So K2, don't get confused. K in the sense it is a constant. See here we get K1, right? So here this equation also we have achieved from. See, I'll show you here. Oh, sorry, it is not available right now. Right. So here actually we get K5 into E2, right? Here, see, look at this equation. This equation. So here we get K into 5. So that again we have reduced to another constant K2. Okay, so no need to worry about this. This is just an substitution of the E2 value. Okay, so first consider this equation 1 only. Okay, we have to focus on this equation. Okay, next let us prove how the, I mean, what at this standstill condition. So what is the torque equation? So it can be proved that the starting torque is maximum when the rotor resistance equals to rotor reactance. See, in the similar to the power system, okay, we could see if there exists only the resistance and if the reactance part is zero, the maximum amount of real power can be transferred, right? So in the similar fashion here also in the induction motor, if the rotor resistance is equals to the rotor reactance, then the amount of current draw will be high, very high, and of course the torque is also high because T is proportional to the load current. Sorry, the rotor current. Of course, the load current. Okay, so the amount of the maximum amount of current draws when there exists only the resistance value. Okay, right. So let us see. Consider the same equation earlier we have seen here. So let us K2 is then another constant there, and R2 by Z2 square. Okay, so Z2 square here see this. So this is the magnitude there. Okay, so Z2 square. So Z2 value means root of R2 square plus Z2 square X2 square. Okay, so see this. So starting torque equal to K2 into R2 by R2 square plus X2 square. The same equation I have written here. Okay, so here we need to find it out. So how the rotor resistance is equal to the rotor reactance. Okay, so we need to prove that. So that is the objective of this topic there. Okay, so we need to differentiate. So the differentiation with respect to R2. Okay, so look at this equation. So how we have segregated it? See, so K2 into, consider it as UV, d by dt of UV. So what is the value of d by dt of UV? So V into U dash plus U into V dash. Okay, consider it as an U. See, numerator R2 consider as U and the denominator consider it as V. Okay, so there we get V into U dash. So V in the sense, this is the, I think you know the derivation of d by dt of x power n means n into x power n minus 1. Okay, so here this becomes R2 is constant, so we get 1 there, and the numerator which is of power minus sorry, yes, power of minus 1, we again it is sent to the as denominator. Okay, next look at this, plus what is the form there, d by dt of uv means v into u dash plus u into v dash. Here u is R2 there. Okay, so R2. Next v dash, so this is the v. Okay, so this denominator is v, and what is the derivative of this? So we get 2 into R2 by R2 square plus x2 whole square. Okay, here we get additional square because of x power n minus 1. So power of x power x, in the sense here this part R2 square plus x2 whole power minus 1 and minus 1. So it gets denominated as whole square. Okay, so later on you can practice that. So but remind that that is a form there. Consider it as u, consider it as v, and we can reduce this equation. That is d by dt of uv is v into u dash plus u into v dash. So this is this answer. I have cross checked it, and you too can do it. So this is the equation. So we have made equated to 0. Okay, so again this equation can be reduced as 1 by r2 square plus x2 square is made equal to 2 r2 square, which is obtained from this, by r2 square plus x2 square whole square. Okay, so here these two are the common things in the denominators of these two constants. Here see, we can reduce this, so cancel, it gets cancelled, and only this r2 2 r2 square by r2 square plus x2 square exists. Again further it can be reduced as, see this, 2 r2 square x2 square is equal to, see here there exists only one parameter. Here it gets cancelled because it is of a square value. Only this part gets cancelled, and here it exists. Okay, so this equation again it can be reduced to r2 square plus x2 square, which is equal to 2r2 square. Again further this equation is reduced as r2 square equal to x2 square, and the final equation is r2 equal to x2. So this is our aim. Okay, so our aim is that, see, it can be proved that the starting torque is maximum when the rotor resistance equals to rotor reactance. So this is completely achieved because of the slip equal to 1. See here, nowhere you can see the slip value, any 0.3 or 0.2 like this. We have considered it as s equal to 1, and we have applied a derivatives. Okay, so yes, we have applied the derivation, and we got this equation, that is R2 equal to X2. Hence we have proved that, right? At standstill, the rotor resistance is equal to the rotor reactance. Okay, so standstill means the slip equal to 1. Okay, next, under running condition, I hope you have understood the standstill condition. Okay, so at the final I'll revise everything this. Next, maximum starting torque under running condition. So what do you mean by running condition? So there s equal to 1 means standstill. Running condition means it starts from 0 but never be 0. Okay, so s value should be greater than 0 and always less than 1. Okay, so next, s value we don't know, so we have to keep it as same, remain it as s. Okay, so again consider the same torque equation. Okay, so the torque of a rotor under running condition. Okay, so t equal to k into phi s into e2 r2 by r2 square plus s into x2 whole square. So this is also the same equation earlier we have seen. Okay, right, so this is the case. Okay, right, so k phi s into e2 into r2 by r2 square plus s into x2 whole square. Here we have written k means it is in terms of phi. Okay, so these two again can be reduced as k1. Okay, so k into phi means phi we have to replace with e1. Again e1 is equal to e2 in the torque equation we have defined. Okay, so that overall constant can be termed as k1. Okay, don't get confused with k1 and k2. Okay, so k2 is another constant, and k1 is the equivalent of the k into phi. Okay, right. So here phi has to be replaced with E1, and even if E1 equal to E2, then again we get E2 square there. Okay, so all this we have derived in the torque equation. Okay, so consider the same equation and we need to find out the torque under running condition. So look at this, the second point. The condition for maximum torque may be obtained by differentiating the above expression with respect to slip. Okay, so here they are asked for, we need to differentiate the same equation, this part of the equation, with respect to slip, and then putting it equal to 0. So earlier what we have followed here, so here we have differentiated with respect to resistance. Here we need to differentiate with respect to slip, and we have to made it equal to 0. Okay, so however it is simpler to put y equal to 1 by 2. So for our convenience, let us do the differentiation with y equal to 1 by t. Okay, let us see. See here y equal to 1 by t means c. So this part I have taken. Okay, k phi s into e2 r2 by r2 square plus s into x2 whole square. So this part, see, so I have made it as y equal to 1 by t. Okay, next what we have to do, so here I am separating the terms. Okay, for doing the differentiation, let us see. So y equal to, so r2 square by, actually it has to be r2 square by k phi s into e2 into r2. In numerator there exists r2 square and the denominator there exists r2, so and the final equation is r2 by k phi s into e2. So this is one part. Okay, next what about the second thing? So here again it can be reduced as r2 square plus s into x2 whole square by, so we are here r2 square, uh, sorry, right. So the same equation we have reduced to into this form. Okay, r2 square plus s into x2 whole square, this remains the same. Okay, so only the thing is here, yes, s term is missing. Okay, I hope you can do this easily. Okay, so now we need to differentiate this equation. Okay, this y term. Okay, so dy by ds, so we differentiate with respect to slip. Okay, so why we need to differentiate with respect to slip means, under running condition there exists the concept of slip. We cannot make it as slip equal to 1. It comes under the uh, standstill condition. So definitely that is the only difference. We need to do the differentiation in the running conditions and the standstill conditions. Okay, so in the running conditions we have to take the differentiation with respect to slip. Okay, so now applying this, what happens there? So here again same, we get minus r2 into k phi s square e2. Here r2 is the uh, parameter there. Okay, so sorry, s is our differentiating we are differentiating with respect to slip, so we have to consider the s value. So all these remainings are same, so r2 by k phi e2, and we need to differentiate for 1 by s. So 1 by s means we get like this, so minus 1 by s square. Okay, next for this differentiate with respect to slip means r2 square, this is a constant, here it remains 0. Okay, next plus s into x2 square. So what happens there? So s is a constant. Okay, we get x2 square, and the denominator remains same, k phi e2 r2, and we have made equator to 0. So earlier we have seen that. So this after the differentiation, put and then putting it equal to 0. Okay, right. So again this last equation we have written as r2 by k phi s square e2. Okay, so we have sent it to the RHS side. Okay, next r2 by k phi s square e2 is equal to x2 square by k phi e2 r2. So this is the same equation. Okay, right. So what happens here? These two are same. K phi is same, and here also in the x2 parameter k phi is same. So these two gets cancelled, and again e2 is also same. So e2 also gets cancelled. What are the terms left? R2 by uh, what is that? R2 by s square, and is which is equal to x2 square by r2. Okay, so cross multiply this, we get r2 square equal to s square into x2 square, which can be written as S into X2 whole square. Okay, so square get cancelled. So what is the final equation? The rotor resistance is equal to the slip into X2. So resistance of the reactance of the rotor. Okay, so this is the statement. Okay, so under running conditions, so what is the final answer we have achieved? The rotor resistance is equal to slip times of the rotor reactance. So hence the torque under running condition is maximum at that value of slip, which makes the rotor reactance per phase equal to the rotor resistance per phase. Suppose if we consider the resistance per phase, now obviously the reactance per phase, it is equal to the slip times. Okay, so this is our aim of the topic in the running conditions. So earlier, what is the case there? Under standstill condition, see, look at equation 3 there. So the rotor resistance is equal to the rotor reactance, or rotor resistance per phase is equal to the rotor reactance per phase. Okay. But whereas in running condition, where there exists the concept of slip, and what is the condition for maximum torque means the rotor resistance must be equal to the slip times of the rotor reactance, or the rotor resistance per phase must be equal to S times of the rotor reactance per phase. So these are the conclusions of this condition for maximum torque in standstill and running conditions. Okay, so these are the relations, right? So we'll go to further extension of this. Slip corresponding to maximum torque is from this equation. So we can find out the slip. Okay, so at the maximum condition, what is the slip term means? Slip equal to R2 by X2. So substituting the same in the torque equation, which we have seen earlier. See, in this equation, in equation A. Okay, so substituting S equal to R2 by X2. Okay, so we get, see, this is the torque equation, and if we are substituting the R2 value for our convenience, so substitute R2 equal to S into X2. Okay, so we get torque equal to K5 S square E2 X2. So why we got this means we are substituting R2, we are in place of R2 we are substituting S into X2. So S into S, we get S square, here we get X2 in the numerator. Okay, by R2 square plus S into X2 square, here we need to substitute X into X2. So finally we get 2S square X2 square. Okay, so further we can write in terms of this equation also. It is completely in terms of reactance, or we can write in terms of resistance, substituting S equal to R2 by X2, or substituting X2 equal to R2 by S as per our convenience. Okay, so we can write in terms of reactance, or we can write in terms of resistance. And the final equation is torque T equal to, so here you can see there, so here x2 square is there, here x2 is there, so one term gets cancelled in the numerator, and again s square is there, here also s square is there. Okay, so it gets cancelled there. Okay, so finally what is the equation? T equal to k5 s into e2 by 2 x2. Okay, yes, so this is obtained from this equation, sorry, so from this equation, so k5 s into e2 by 2 into x2. So this is obtained from this relation. So they have converted into different forms. The same equation they have converted into different types. Okay. So in terms of reactance, if you want, you can use this equation. In terms of resistance, you can use this equation. Okay. So therefore, finally, the torque maximum condition for maximum torque is K1 into E2 square by 2 into X2. Okay. From this all equations, what we have found means, so these are the conclusions. So very important part. So the maximum torque is independent of rotor resistance, as we have seen there. Okay, rotor resistance never depends upon the conditions there. Okay, I mean in standstill, the maximum torque is obtained, so that completely the reactance part there is no presence of reactance. That means, okay, but practically it will not be there. So definitely there exists some internal resistance in the coil. The reactance can never be zero there. Okay, so that is a virtual concept. Okay, so if suppose, standstill condition appears, and the completely the reactance part will be 0. Okay, so similar to like our resonance case there. Okay, in circuits. Okay, look at the second one. However, the speed or slip at which the maximum torque occurs is determined by the rotor resistance. Okay, so what we have seen the relation R2 equal to S into X2. As seen above, the torque becomes maximum when the rotor reactance equals its resistance. Okay, if slip equal to 1, R2 equal to X2. If slip some value is existing, so obviously R2 equal to S into X2. So definitely under running conditions, it is depending upon the slip. Okay, hence by varying the rotor resistance, so which is possible with the slip ring motor, maximum torque can be made to occur at any desired slip. Okay, so what does it mean? So by this equation, what we can conclude, by varying the rotor resistance, how can we vary the rotor resistance? In case of the squirrel cage, we cannot add the external resistance. Okay, so the possibility is only with the slip ring induction motor. So there we can add the resistor bank. Okay, so by this we can improve the torque. Okay, so that is another advantage. And look at the third one. The maximum torque varies inversely at standstill reactance. Okay, so inversely at standstill in the sense, see, look at this. See, T max equal to K1 into E2 square by 2 into X2. So that means torque is proportional to the inversely proportional to the reactance. So that means hence it should be kept as small as possible. So the reactance offered should be less. So that means if you want a maximum torque. Okay, of course, the reactance, the inductor part will be fixed there. Okay, I think you know the relation x equal to omega L. So where omega equal to 2 pi f into L. So 2 pi is constant there. The inductive coil is the inductance value is fixed there. Inductance value is fixed there, but the frequency changes. Okay, so based upon the change in frequency or the rotor frequency, the reactance offered also will be changed. Okay, next look at the fourth one. Maximum torque varies directly as the square of the applied voltage. So look at this. So T is proportional to E square. So that means induced EMF in the rotor resistance, so rotor conductors. Okay. So T is proportional to the square of the applied voltage. Suppose voltage is fixed there, input is constant. So induced EMF E1 is constant and E1 is proportional to E2. So V is proportional to E2. Okay. So in that manner, they have given the statement. Okay. So maximum torque can be achieved with square of the supply voltage or apply voltage. Next, last one. For obtaining the maximum torque at starting S equal to 1, rotor resistance must be equal to rotor reactance. Earlier we have seen this point. Okay. So these all are about uh, condition for maximum starting torque. Okay. So once again, we'll have an overlook of this. Okay. So this is the starting torque equation which we have defined in the previous class. Okay, and we have substituted all these values I2 and cos phi2, that is a secondary, I mean rotor current and the power factor. So we have reduced into equation 1. Okay, next, so starting torque. If you want the starting torque, substitute S equal to 1 there, and of course we have to make certain assumptions. So there should be V is constant and the flux phi. If V is constant, the flux depends upon flux is proportional to the induced EMF. So then this equation becomes K2. So let K2 be the other constant which is obtained from K1. Okay. Next, we have taken the differentiation of uh, this torque equation with respect to resistance because slip equal to 1 there. Okay, so in the standstill condition we have to differentiate the torque equation with respect to resistance, that is R2. Okay, so and we got this equation, that is R2 equal to X2. Okay, so from this we can conclude that rotor resistance is equal to the rotor reactance. Okay, and at standstill if you want to achieve the maximum starting torque. Okay. In running conditions, the slip value varies from 0, but we should never substitute S equal to 0 there. There should be certain value. Okay. So again, the same torque equation we have considered here. and we have for our convenience we have made it as y equal to 1 by t. Okay. Next, we have segregated the same equation for doing the differentiation. So we need to differentiate with respect to the slip. Of course, in the standstill condition, the slip is considered as 1, but in running conditions, slip cannot be 1 here. It should be certain finite value there. Okay, differentiate with respect to slip, and we get R2 square, that is R2 equal to S into X2. So after all this derivation or calculations, we got R2 equal to S into X2. Okay, so from this, what is the statement there? So the rotor resistance per phase is equal to the slip times of the rotor reactance per phase. Okay, so these two are the statements for achieving the maximum torque. So this should be followed in the both the cases. Okay, that is standstill and running conditions. Okay, from the final equation, what are the observations made means, so torque is proportional to square of the applied voltage, and torque is inversely proportional to the reactance. Torque is independent of the rotor resistance. Okay, and by varying the resistance, we can improve the maximum torque, so that which is achieved only through the slip ring induction motor. So these are all the about the session. So I hope you understand this maximum torque conditions. Let us see the two examples, simple examples there. So consider a 6-pole 50 head 3-phase induction motor running on full load develops a useful torque of 150 Newton meter at a rotor frequency of 1.5 Hz. So calculate the shaft power output if the mechanical torque lost in friction be 10 Newton meters. So determine rotor copper loss, the input to the motor, and the efficiency. And consider the stator losses is 700 watts. So what is the data given here? So they have given a 6-pole machine. So P equal to 6 there. Fundamental frequency is 50 hertz. Okay. At full load, the torque developed is 150 Newton meters. And the rotor frequency means FR is 1.5 hertz. And the torque lost in friction, that is the friction loss here. So it is 10 Newton meters. Okay. Next, they have asked for finding out the copper losses, rotor copper losses, and the input to the motor. So what is the input to the motor there? So earlier we have defined that input of the motor is the electrical input, right? Next, the efficiency. Okay, so that is P out by that is or PM by P2. Okay, so earlier we have defined as PM as the motor output and P2 as the motor input. And the stator losses is 700 watts. So let us see. So in order to find out the losses there, see. So before that, they have asked us to find out the shaft power. Okay, so shaft power is P equal T into omega. Okay, so for that we need to find out omega. Omega mean in the sense or omega R. As per our convenience, we can write it as. So first we need to find out the synchronous speed. So that is 120 F by P or 120 Fs by P. So because they have given the supply frequency 50 hertz and the poles 6, so we got 1000 RPM is the stator speed. And also they have given that, see, they have given that the rotor frequency is 1.5 hertz, that is FR they have given, and we know the Fs 50. So from that we can find out the slip, so that is 3%. So see here, FR is 1.5 they have given, Fs is 50 hertz also given in data. We can find out the slip. From this slip and from this synchronous speed we can find out the rotor speed, actually the rotation of the rotor. Okay, so this is the relation. So or we can obtain from S equal to ns minus n by ns. Okay, so I have said you earlier, so in some textbooks they will be writing as n or nr, don't get confused. Okay, so therefore omega r equal to 2 pi n, or that is in synchronous speed. Okay, sorry, that is the actual speed of the rotor in rpm. Okay, so in order to convert into angular velocity, then I can get 2 pi into nr is 970 there by 60. Okay, right. So I have said you before that. So that is 2 pi n in the sense ns by 60 there. Okay. So substituting that, we got 101.58 radians per second. So substituting that in order to find out the shaft power, because P equal to T into omega, so we get 150 into this value. We get 15.236 kilowatts. Okay, so they have asked to find out the mechanical power. So mechanical power developed is, what is the given data there, 150 Newton meters, plus they have given that friction losses will be 10. So after the shaft rotates only there will be some frictional losses. So the total power developed here is 150 plus 10 into, what is this, 101 into omega, so 101.58. So we get 16.25 kilowatts. Okay, next, rotor copper losses. So this also I have given you the in the torque equation. What is the relation there? So that is P2, PC, and PM. So what is the relation? So from that we have written this formula, S by 1 minus S into PM. So substitute the values. S means the slip what we have got there, that is 3%. So 3% by 1 minus 0.03 into the mechanical power developed there. So we get the rotor copper losses is 0.5026 kilowatts. Okay, and the input to the motor is, it is a combination of mechanical power developed and the losses. Okay, so this is the copper losses and these are the stator losses. They have given the stator losses as 700 watts. We have converted into kilowatts, so that is 0.7. So substituting these three values, that is the mechanical power developed, losses, that is the stator losses, and copper losses. Okay, so this is the input to the motor. So finally we got, so the output is 15.26. So from this we got the shaft power and the input 17.45. So finally we get the efficiency as 87.29%. Okay, so this is one problem, and another, and one more simple problem there. The motor EMF of a 3-phase 6-pole 400 volts 50 hertz induction motor alternates at 3 hertz. Compute the speed and percentage slip of the motor. Find the rotor copper losses per phase if the full input to the motor is 119.9 kilowatts. Okay, so what are the given data there? So 3-pole 6-pole machine, and the supply voltage is, they have given us, the motor EMF as 400 volts 50 hertz. Supply frequency is 50 hertz, and the induced EMF is there 400 volts. Of course it is also the supply voltage. Compute the speed and percentage slip. So we need to find out the slip and percentage slip. Also find the losses if the input is 119.9 kilowatts. So first of all we need to find out the slip there. The rotor frequency given as, see here you can see, alternates at 3 hertz. So that is the rotor frequency 3, and the supply frequency is 50 hertz. We can find out the slip there, and from this we can find out synchronous speed, that is 120 f by p. So there we have achieved 1000 rpm by substituting these values. So from this slip and from this synchronous speed we can find out the rotor speed, that is 940 rpm. So which is our target there. So we need to compute the speed. So this is the speed of the motor. And next case, what is the next constraint? The rotor input is here some data is missing there. Consider it as 111.9. So here the rotor input is 111.9, and we need to find out the losses, right? So power loss PC equal to S into P2. So earlier we have derived the equation there. So once again I'm repeating, PC, the copper losses, is equal to S into P2. Okay, so S here means what is the slip there into the given data. Okay, that is the input power. Substitute this and we get the losses. Okay, right. So losses per phase in the sense by 3. Okay, so this is the power loss, but here some value is different, so don't get confused. Take it as 11111.9. Okay, so thank you, Ananda.